we're talking another great director. We're talking more horror, because this is the theme now of the 31 Days of Dread. Guys, Peter A. DeLuca here, AKAPAD. I love seeing it. I love seeing you guys day after day. You guys are showing up this year, and thank you for it. Hey, we all subscribe to Netflix, right? Raise your hand if you don't subscribe to Netflix. That's right. There's not a hand down in the room. The Deliverance 2024. Lee Daniels. This is the genius behind directing Precious. Precious is one of the movies I put next to Laws of Gravity, HBO's The Corner. It's so visceral. You don't know who's acting. You don't know who's out. How does the girl from Precious not get Best Actress? I don't know. The Deliverance. We have a demonic possession movie based on true events. It's creepy, but guess what? This movie's beautiful. I love the air, the setting. This movie feels real, and then everyone just ignored it because it's great. It's a great movie, and people just, that's what they do now. If something's great, they ignore it unless it goes viral, like Long Legs. But Long Legs is great and viral. Let's talk about Lee Daniels' The Deliverance. It's October, and it's time for the 31 Days of Dread. This is where you get one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. That's how much we love horror. That's how much we love Halloween on the Film Buff Podcast. And here's the crazy thing. This is the longest running horror event in all of podcasting. So get ready. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to scare our socks off. And yes, we're going to be grabbing some candy. Maybe some cereal. Let's go. We're getting pretty long with these intros. Like, hey, Patters, Netflix on August 30th, Netflix gave us one of the great modern possession movies. This movie, let's just take the demon part out of this movie. Let's take the true life events, because we get it at the end. You know, we get the title cards that no one ever moved back into the house. The house was demolished, and there's still reports of creepiness. You know, real life reports of this house, this area, on this street. Let's ignore the idea that this movie wants you to believe that demons are real, that there's true evil in this world. Right? This movie goes into that point as well as The Exorcist does. And I'm talking about the old boy Exorcist. My one criticism of this movie is that it's in the 31 Days of Dread. It's not a separate episode, because we have a lot of demonic possession movies this year for the 31 Days of Dread. And we have a lot of demon babies, a lot of Rosemary Baby, you know, like The First Omen, Immaculate. You know, like it's a little bit of a theme this year, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to take anything away from the setting of this movie that Lee Daniels nails so well. Before we get into the demon stuff, number one, we get Glenn Close disappearing into a role. We got, let's just go through the cast here. Andre Day, Andre Day plays her part so well. I want her to have a social worker. Monique plays herself so well. She's the social worker, and you're on her side. You're watching her trying to help this family because this family's struggling. Demi Singleton, amazing, the angsty teenage daughter. And we have Caleb McLaughlin. He's our boy from Stranger Things. More on that later. Another episode, another day. These performances captured a family struggling. It captures a world that, you know, a lot, and because Netflix has a reach, you know, a lot of people don't get to see this side of the world. And Lee Daniels perfectly illustrates the plight of this family. It's a family perfectly portrayed as struggling in a real environment. Feels like a documentary. That's what, you know, like a little bit what I mean about, like, his Precious came through. A lot of Lee Daniels' experience with Precious is in this movie. Like, it is clear. You almost would think it's like a spiritual sequel at points. And then it's possession time. And it's wild, and it's scary, and it's depressing, and it does all of the things a demon possession movie should do. I think the absolute all-star of this flick, and we gotta talk about Ellie Arneson. This is our cinematographer. He is a young dude. I think he's 12 years old. Look, we're in an age where every single movie looks amazing. It just does. Every single movie looks absolutely amazing, okay? But what he does, it's of note. Is the nomination worthy? Like, I kind of believe it is. This movie blew me away. Glenn Close blew me away. I think almost everyone in this movie nominate him for an Oscar. I'm not no cap. It's on Netflix. We all subscribe to it. This movie didn't get traction. I think it's already maligned through the critics. I think it's already got those low ratings that we don't like to discuss. But we're revolutionaries on this podcast. We're the film buffers. We pay attention and we care. On YouTube, I do the same with reading comic books. That's almost like what the new identity of the YouTube channel is. We have to look at art for what it is, and we have to be willing to accept it. I think this movie is top notch. So for the 31 Days of Dread, I can confidently recommend The Deliverance by Lee Daniels, who deserves adulation along with the entire cast and our cinematographer. All right, guys, I'm in the mood for some candy. Time for a Snickers. AKAPADers, thank you for joining me for another episode of the 31 Days of Dread. We have been dedicated to horror for a long time on this feed, on this podcast. If you guys want to know more about everything we do here, go to akapad.com. From there, you can navigate to the 31 Days of Dread. We have a dedicated landing page that goes through all the years of the 31 Days of Dread, and we also have a directory that jumps you to any movie that we've done. So you can just look up the movie by name, you can go to the directory, it's all alphabetical, and you can just explore. And that's the intent, and that's why we're so into the 31 Days of Dread, because no one's done this. No one has put this much time, this much thought and effort into American horror and international horror, and we love it. Horror is the future of American cinema. Horror right now is holding up American cinema, and I'm so thankful for it. So I'm hoping that you can extend yourself, explore, and continue the conversation. akapad.com. Thanks, guys.